Are you ready?
Let's roll it, John.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, this is the Jon Peckman Podcast. Coming to you from the podcast studio of Connecticut Valley School of Music and Dance in beautiful downtown Portland, Connecticut. We're here. We are here with Mr. Michael Arafeh of the world-famous Coffeehouse Productions, Coffeehouse Records, Coffeehouse Studio.
Coffeehouse Recording Studio.
Coffeehouse Recording Studio.
The Coffeehouse Recording Studio. Sometimes on the records we go recorded at the Coffeehouse,
Gotcha.
Middletown, Connecticut.
By any name.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
And there's a thing with the Coffeehouse that is a problem because, you know, it's my trademark, right?
Sure.
It's my thing.
Yep.
It's my identity, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so on people's records, they often put it as coffee and then as a separate word, house.
Yeah.
The Coffee House.
Yeah, no, bro.
And there isn't. It's one word.
Yeah.
Capital C, lowercase h when you get to the house.
I see.
It's one word.
Yep. And how did that happen? Coffee house, one word. You just were like, this is the way it's going to be.
Well, everybody needs a name.
Right. Apparently.
You know, for a band name, you come up with something.
Sure. And it was better than
Studios.
the Coffee House. You were like, Coffee House. Boom.
Oh, why did I choose it as one instead of two?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know.
You don't know.
But
Who does? Does anyone know? If you don't know, I guess no one does.
I don't know who knows. I don't know.
All right. Anyway, so tell us about yourself, because I actually don't know much. So this is going to be a voyage of discovery for me.
I keep a low profile about these things.
It's all different now. Once you're on, your profile has already been raised now. I'm just sorry.
I've been doing it for so long. I've been at it for so long. They've forgotten me on a number of decades.
Really?
As I've been.
You're just part of the wallpaper at this point. They think
Well, I mean, the shop downtown, the recording studio downtown in Middletown is celebrating 30 years on Main Street. When I started, the Buttonwood Tree was starting.
Okay. Yep.
And so we were art neighbors, have been art neighbors in the north end of Middletown's Main Street.
Cool.
So I've been there a long time. And even before those 30 years, I had the studio as a commercial operation out of my folks' house.
Oh, okay.
In their basement, and I had a van to do remote recordings.
Wow.
Like the Savage Brothers live album.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
That was an early big one.
Okay. So that was
Savage
like
Brothers. Yeah.
Wow.
Boom.
How many tracks? So you had the van. Would you have in the van, the mobile?
Well, I would lug stuff out of my little control room at my folks' basement into the van.
And what were you called? Just my folks mobile?
No. The name of the business at that time was 3 Communications Productions, which is a mouthful.
Yeah.
And I ran into problems with that business name because is it the numeral 3 or is it spelled out? It was spelled out, so they didn't
Roman
know.
numeral
Or Roman numerals.
Could be.
And then to shorten it because it was such a mouthful, it was like 3C Studios, and people thought 3C. Mike, I couldn't find you in the phone book under 3C.
Yeah, right. Do I look under number
It was
T? Yeah.
It was a ball of confusion. So, I was happy to, and the Coffee House kind of came about because I was doing an early in-studio concert series the first year called the Coffee House Concert Series.
Okay.
So that was part of...
I get it. And then so you just said this is going to be the name of the joint now.
On records, instead of 3 Communications Productions, it was like recorded at the Coffee House, this Coffee House, that Coffee House. So
how did you get interested in... You're a musician. I'm not going to pretend that I don't know. Yeah. But what came first? How did you decide to... Do you consider yourself primarily a recording engineer, producer, then a musician, or no?
I really look at myself as a record producer.
Okay.
I definitely am an ace recording engineer.
Okay.
I study it deeply. I've been doing it a very long time. But it's funny. I like to play that down a lot when I'm with people. it's funny because I associate myself strongly as a recording engineer, and I take it very seriously. But I don't like to be kind of identified as that with the music community.
Why?
I don't know. I don't know. Isn't that a funny thing?
Interesting. Yeah, no, that's all right.
But I'll go with record producer all day long. And certainly I'm a business owner and a musician and even an occasional songwriter.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So then you decided at some point to focus more on being an engineer than a musician, would you say?
Yeah.
Why? How did that happen?
Well, there's a lot of work to being a musician.
Sure.
Is there not?
I think so.
The rehearsals, the gigs are not short.
Right.
Those are long days.
This is true.
But, like there were a few years when I got out of audio school in the mid 80s, I went to the Center for Media Arts in Manhattan.
Oh, okay.
For a year. So I got really traditional study in record production. And I came back, and one of the things I did is I interned at Trodnossel Recording Studio.
In my hometown of Wallingford, Connecticut.
There you go. For a year, I was over there near Cyanamid.
Yep. Sure.
And all that. That it has to offer over there.
Can I interject?
Sure.
I've been lately, are you aware of the, I like Fleetwood Mac like anybody, but I'm not a Fleetwood Mac freak.
I have the recording.
Right. You know what I'm getting at. I just listening to it now.
Yeah.
Like I've had it for a while. So for those of you who don't know, early on the Fleetwood Mac, when Stevie Nicks and Lindsey Buckingham first joined, they did a live in the studio.
That's right. They were doing a concert series there with PLR.
Is that what it was? Yeah.
Yeah, in association with PLR.
It's really good. That recording is killer.
Isn't it something?
Yeah, it's funny. Yeah. And this took me a long time to figure this out, that a lot of the promo photos that you see of them from that era are Trodnossel. Like I've seen those, in magazines for years. And then I would do sessions at Trod and go, I know those headphones. I know that gobo. I know and then next time I went to Trod, I was like, yeah, it's right. Cause everything's
famous
there.
Headphones.
I'm like, there's the head. And I'm like, that's Trodnossel. And then suddenly you go, yeah, that's Trodnossel.
Yeah.
So Trodnossel and Wallingford.
Yeah. So I interned there, and I also did live sound for the Daily Planet, Joe Lizzio's band.
Oh, okay.
So Joe Lizzio, who's now switched over from musician to sound man.
Oh, okay.
And live sound guy.
Yeah.
It's like the world flipped or something.
Yeah. Well, it's not done flipping.
And it's not done flipping. He gave me one of the people who gave me my first break in the business.
Oh, yeah?
Joe Lizzio and Doc Cavalier from Trodnossel.
Yep.
So
Doc was always cool with me. Always, whenever I would be there.
Fascinating character. Mm-hmm. I would like to learn a lot more about his life. I'm sure you have the record that I have. The compilation record. What was it called? Of recordings from Trodnossel.
Yeah,
it was on the Sundazed record label.
I don't think I have that, but
it's very.
I'll get on it.
Yeah, because what he was doing there then was this kind of psychedelic garage rock.
Mm-hmm.
So his producing forte, or just what was happening around him as a producer, was this wild garage rock.
Yeah,
of the day.
Right. Huh. Yeah, and then of course the Wild Weeds passed through there.
That's right.
It's a big deal.
And what's the big hit?
No Good to Cry.
No Good to Cry. What a monster of a blue-eyed soul,
dude.
Song.
All right. So one time. So we're talking about Al Anderson. So we're talking about. Started off in a band called the Wild Weeds. Went on to NRBQ, and is a legend around here, and rightly so. Wouldn't you say? I was doing a cover gig with some friends of mine. One of them was friends with Al, and he called me. This is, I don't know, 15 years. My dad was alive, so it was more than 15 years ago. Called me, goes, dude, Al's going to do the gig with us tonight. I'm like, I'm a huge NRBQ fan, huge. I'm like, oh, wow, that's wild. It was at a pool hall up on the Berlin Turnpike.
Just his style.
Yeah, right. So there's Al, and I'm like trying to be cool. And once the people started figuring out it was Al, they start yelling out NRBQ tunes. Right. And someone yells out "No Good to Cry." And next thing I know, we're playing it. And I'm just like, I can't believe this is happening.
How wonderful is that?
I'm like, whoa. It just happened just like that. And I'm like, wow, good thing I know the song. Yeah.
Yeah, good thing.
But that was great. That was my one moment. I go, I'm as close as to being an NRBQ as I'm ever going to get.
What is it? It's a shuffle, right?
Yeah. Yep. But it was just funny that somebody yelled it out. And he's like, oh, all right. Do we know that one? Yes, I know that.
What about tap dancing bats?
Tap dancing bats. Yep. Yep.
Or Girl Scout cookies.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we could.
Yep.
You know.
We could be a whole other thing. Yeah, I go pretty NRBQ deep myself. Yeah.
I got, there was one night I got to, I think that a friend of mine and myself won tickets to an album release party for Wild Weekend, an album that they came out with.
Sure. Yep.
And it was at City Lights
in Hartford. Yep.
In Hartford. Mm-hmm. So it was interesting, just to be at that special event and hang out with the band.
Yeah.
I got to meet everybody.
Yeah. So cool. Yeah. Beautiful. All right. We'll tell other NRBQ stories later. We have to talk about you. Yeah. And we'll save those stories. So you decided to get serious about engineering. You're like, this is my thing. This is what I'm going to do.
I was in, I was a not particularly serious musician, a guitarist.
Okay. What do you mean? Not serious?
Not really desiring to be out playing in a working group.
Gotcha.
Or to even necessarily seriously be a serious songwriter or recording person.
Yep.
When I first started, but I'd built this home studio in 1982 in my folks' attic.
Okay.
So from 82 to 88, I had a little studio in my folks' attic. That's called the Egg Room.
The Egg Room.
Yeah.
Because of the egg crates.
Because of the egg crates, right.
Sure.
And then after that, I set up the studio in the basement and got serious. But it was kind of during that time I was just, I was a fan of records. So I was record collecting.
Sure.
And I think that was a lot more than being the level of musician that I was, what got me into wanting to do what I ended up doing. Mm-hmm. And I got to say, it was a very kind of immature dream and understanding that I was following when I first began doing this. Now that morphed into something very different, very serious and real.
Okay.
And professional, all those things. But when I started out, it was, I was young and I had just kind of an immature thought about a career in doing this with the cool recording studio and everything.
Right. Without maybe as many skills as you needed. Right.
And I was at, I'd taken some architecture courses right after high school.
Okay.
I was class of 81, high school. And that summer, I studied architecture at Harvard.
Oh, wow.
In Boston. So I was up in Boston and I was on the campus there. I could have never really gotten into Harvard during the regular school year, but the summer class, I'm up there.
Yeah, right. Well.
And thinking about, what is, starting to dabble in what's going to be my career. What is it I want to do? So I thought a bit about architecture, and I even went to Syracuse University after that summer for 1 year, considering getting into architecture. But then I left Syracuse and I went to the audio school in Manhattan. Mm-hmm. And that's when I'd already built the studio in my folks' attic and was dabbling with recording. Mm-hmm. And that's when I decided to study it for real.
That's cool.
And so that was the summer or 1984, that year I was in Manhattan at the Center for Media Arts.
What did you have? Like a 4-track reel-to-reel? What did you start on?
My first 4-track was, I bought it from Brian of Brian's Guitars. Mm-hmm.
Sure.
From Brian himself. And it was a Tascam 244 Porta Studio. cassette built like a
Oh,
tape.
right. Sure.
And I'd be happy using it today.
Yeah.
I don't need all the fancy stuff. I'll go back to using that. Joe.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, I had a 4-track. I forget what, probably a Fostex.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I made, tons of stuff on that thing. It was cool.
It's cool.
Yeah, it was just one aux end. Hey, I have a reverb. Figure it out.
What a wonderful thing to right.
That's it.
I mean, what else you need?
I did more with that than I did, then later. I only got as far as like ADATs, and then I kind of got out. But I mean, yeah, back when you had 4 tracks and then had to mix everything down to 2 and bounce, it was fine. Whatever.
Yeah. I followed all those technologies. I went from when I first started out and when I was in audio school, it was the MCI 2-inch tape machines, and then the 1/2-inch and 1/4-inch reel-to-reel mix-down machines. It was analog. CDs were just coming about.
Yep.
It was still a novelty. And my first professional machine was an Akai 12-track analog console, which looked like a very big Porta-Studio. And it was essentially very wide analog cassette tape, cut very wide, so there could be 12 tracks on it.
Right.
And loaded in something that was like a Betamax shell.
Oh, okay.
So it was a very specific format.
Like the DA88 that was different though, right?
Well, that was digital.
Okay, all right, never mind.
So this was analog. Like I know you had Michael Clary, my buddy Michael Clary here a few days ago.
Oh yeah.
I produced his first handful of recordings.
Oh, really?
For him. Yeah. And we recorded that first album down in my basement when I had the studio in my folks' basement. Most of it. And it still holds up to this day. I think it's really still
I haven't heard it. I got to hear it. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's cool. Oh, sorry. I just unplugged myself.
Oh man, don't do that. Don't unplug yourself.
There we go. Oh no. Yes. Okay. Sorry.
There we go.
All right. I'm back. Wow. That was scary for 1 second. I was unplugged.
You don't want to be unplugged.
No. So
yeah, the different formats over the years. So analog 12-track, and I did that machine for 5 years. And like Cleary's album and the Savage Brothers record. Actually, the Savage Brothers, we had an additional analog machine locked up with time code.
Oh yeah, more than 12.
Yeah.
Wow.
Which is a risky proposition to do that.
I guess, right? Yeah. What, SMPTE? How did you do it?
Well, the second machine can just go cattywampus, It can go rogue.
DJ style. Yeah, you got to hope they match up.
Yeah, you just hope for the best.
And then mixing down to 1/2-inch.
Yeah.
Yep.
But I actually still have my 1/4-inch reel-to-reel. To this day, it's still working like a charm.
Wow.
In fact, I just transferred and mastered a recording that I had done in the basement at the same time I was working on Michael's record with a group called Redline. And so I dusted off the reel-to-reel masters and just remastered it.
Really?
And it's just roaring out of the speakers. It's still
That's cool.
rocking.
That's cool. So was this your vocation? When did this become, you were like, this is what I'm going to do for a living. This is going to be my occupation.
I think when I was in audio school, I made the decision that I was going to stick with this and try to do this as a profession. But I also knew even then, and I think it's really served me very well to be very pragmatic in this line of work.
Sure.
Because so much of it is based on entertainment and fantasy and legend and all bigger than life.
Sure.
It's about making things often bigger than life, recordings and productions. That being kind of having my feet firmly on the ground as I'm looking at all of this after I got into it was really helpful, very important.
Wow. That's interesting. Some people never do that.
I know. Well, maybe for me less so. I'm getting more delusional.
That's fine.
Over the years.
Why not? I mean, now's the time.
Yeah.
Just bring it full circle.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. At least you're making the decision to be delusional.
That's right.
You know what I mean? Most people who are just creeps up on them. They don't know.
That's right. But, these different formats, like you mentioned, the ADATs, which were digital tapes that were basically these machines, these VCR machines using Super VHS tapes. And you get 8 digital tracks per tape.
Yep.
But it still had to record on it like a tape.
Yep.
So I'm so glad to be off of those tapes, though. Oh my God.
Those are a mess, right? You always had to get them fixed. Did you run ADATs at some point?
I had for a couple of years too. So I was doing 16 track with a 24 channel analog console. And then I got a 32 channel analog console and did 24 track. So, and I made really good records on the ADATs. I mean, all these different formats, you could make good records, but each format, each system that you got yourself into, even my most modern system now, you gain something and you lose something. There were things about that 12 track analog that I could do that I can't do now.
I see.
And vice versa.
Such as?
Well, let's say that with the ADATs, one thing I could do is I could take a track and I could digitally send it to another track internally in the routing.
Right. Yeah, I remember that.
Of the controller. And then I could pan the original track, say to the left, pan the clone to the right, and then sit there and dial in a time difference click by click, increment by increment. So you get this pseudo stereo thing that goes boom, 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 wide, wider, wider. And you'd get these nulls and and sweet spots, like whoa, again.
Wow.
Whoa. So that was one trick that I loved doing on the ADATs, that as soon as I moved on to my next thing, I didn't have that anymore.
Was that did you make that up or is that a thing? I never got that far.
I made it up, but I'm sure other people did those things.
Just to make the stereo sound wider.
Yeah.
Some sort of phasing something or other.
Right. If you take any signal and pan it left and you have the delay of, or just clone it, and just move it, say 10 milliseconds, 20 milliseconds.
Wow.
You get a thing. And there are, but if you sum it to mono, it could sound flangey and phasing.
Right.
There's that too. You have to check it against.
How did you discover that? Did you just think of it and go, I wonder what that would be like? Or
Yeah. Wow. I did a lot of that.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I do that every day.
Wow.
Yeah.
Still.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah, I learn stuff continually, even though my goal on any of the systems that I'm on is to become a samurai on that system. Become just like.
Why not? Yeah. That's cool.
One thing that really helps nowadays is YouTube. And I have a study routine I've gotten into in the past 5 years. My TV set at my apartment is a projector.
Oh, okay.
A little Pico projector.
Why not?
Right?
Yeah.
And I got this blank wall. No, like frame pictures up on it or anything, right? And I can project on that wall and have like an 8-foot diagonal screen. And so when I watch the YouTube tutorials on these computer programs where you're watching a mouse, you're watching just a screenshot of a computer screen, suddenly with you seeing it 8 feet wide,
wow,
it's really sinking in.
Wow.
And so I have this morning study routine, which is a wonderful thing because sure, it takes your attention and your wherewithal to want to do it, but you can have a cup of coffee and just sit there and watch TV.
Right. Sure.
It's no big thing.
Right. But I want to learn how to do this.
While I'm just sitting there drinking a coffee or something.
Why not? That's kind of awesome.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so I do that pretty much every day.
What are you trying to learn now?
Well, the latest thing is I've been exploring classical composing techniques with software such as Spitfire, BBC.
I don't know what that is.
Orchestral software where it's all the instruments of the orchestra.
Okay.
And just as a kind of a layman who grew up on classic rock and stuff.
Sure.
Starting to teach myself how to construct and compose classical arrangements using the classical instruments.
Okay.
So that's one thing I've been into. And
So back into composing after all this time. You thought you weren't a musician.
well, it goes in the studio. It's always composing.
Okay. That's the way you
Yeah. Even, you know, I mean, I'm in service of my clients' projects for the most part, but in service with that and helping them with those, a lot of that has to do with the arrangements and composing. So I'm, without being heavy-handed about it, hopefully,
Right.
I'm weighing in and helping guide vocal and harmony arrangements,
Gotcha.
instrument arrangements, what things should be in or not in, and of course effects, and just those little things that you'd add that you wouldn't think of adding that maybe make the recording more interesting.
Sure. Wow.
Yeah,
That's cool.
yeah.
So you are serious about this thing.
Serious about it. I live it too much.
Really?
I'm too much really. I should really just chillax. And
Yeah,
just
I was
chill out.
gonna advise that you do that. You know, chillax. Why not?
Yeah.
You know, that's cool. That's really cool. So, of course, this is the old days. What'd you do? Just put ads in the Advocate, probably.
Well, it's a funny thing, you know, now the past 15 years, you know, I've been doing it so long and I've had so many clients over the years,
Sure.
people I've worked with on their projects, and, you know, you get your word of mouth.
Yep.
And you get the projects are ambassadors.
Sure.
Mostly for good, sometimes not for good. Not every recording that you do turns out great.
Of course not.
But I kind of, nowadays, I anti-advertise.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Which is a unique concept in business.
I would think so.
Yeah.
So you tell people not to come.
I don't talk about anything.
You just kind of let it be.
I don't advertise anywhere. I really don't.
And and there's still enough coming in.
More than I can handle.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. So you finally cracked it.
Well,
like do nothing.
But let's be honest about this. You know,
Sure.
When you have a studio, when you're doing what I do, you can, like, I think maybe being a music teacher, you can only work on one thing at a time.
Right.
So for me to get swamped is, say, there are 3 things that I have to do in a day for different people. When really it would be nice to just focus on one thing. And so it's easy to get swamped if all you can really get to is one thing at a time. Ideally, I'd love 1 session a day, but most days are 2 or 3 sessions.
Wow. Yeah. That's wild.
Yeah.
That's wild. For ever since you started.
Well, I mean, there are times where the phone's not ringing and nobody's looking to do anything. It's funny how it follows the economies sometimes,
Sure.
or maybe it's sometimes when the economy is really bad, that's when they're writing.
Right. Sure.
And thinking about recording.
Yep. Yep.
So it's funny, since some of those economic downturns, I did really well, if you want to put it in those terms.
Yeah, I can imagine that.
But
it's interesting.
But yeah, I love kind of not talking about it, but at the same time, it gets to me when they're like those Connecticut top 50 albums.
Yeah, seriously. Yeah, and you made more than 50
been talking about it.
Right, and you made more than 50. You probably
I should be up there, and it's not happening.
You're here now.
Thank you,
dude. I'm telling you.
Thank you.
I'm telling you. I have no idea. You know what? I don't even know if anybody watches or listens to any of this at all.
I was going to,
but that's the best part about it.
The what are they? The metrics of what you do.
What this?
You know, like how many countries is it in?
You know what? I have no. I actually, Dave, my boss, he's setting this up. I have no idea, and I don't want to know. Like he'll tell me occasionally, he'll go,
"It's good."
He'll go, "Yeah," because whatever. Not that that's what this is about, but he's like, we got a couple, there's a couple hundred people following us. I'm like, I don't want to know. Yeah. I don't care because we're just having a conversation.
Yeah, that's right.
And if I start thinking about it, I don't want to think of. I guess it's the same thing.
Yes,
it's cool. I mean, I like that anybody. I look on YouTube and go, oh, look, 50, 60 views for not saying anything at all to anybody ever, except occasionally saving it on Facebook. Is 50 more people that are listening to me talk in a day. So I'm like, fine. So I kind of know what you mean. I'm not going to be like push. It's just whatever.
And you know what some of these musicians do?
What?
They're so catty. They're so
we're being catty by saying that.
We're being catty by saying that. They'll take this footage and then they'll find some funny soundbite, right? Some stupid thing that I said or whatever.
Yeah, right.
And then they use that. They throw you under the bus as they're talking with their other musician friends.
Oh, really?
Yeah, me and Mike Clary, we do that all the time.
Oh, really? I don't remember. Now I'm self-conscious.
You know who's good for that is our buddy Chris Lancia.
Oh yeah. Yeah, you got to be careful.
Yes.
With him.
That's right.
Yeah.
But I hold him and Michael in the highest regard.
Oh, really?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I don't know. Lancey is kind of a new friend, so I don't know too much. I don't go back too far.
Well, he's pure showbiz. That's what I love about
really?
Chris.
You think so?
Start with the $100 wig. Let's start there.
Right. Yeah.
And the stage clothes. Mm-hmm. He's got the best stage clothes in the business.
Wow. Yeah, I don't know that I haven't ever seen it in person. So I don't know. I can't speak to that. I believe you. Yeah. Excuse me. So, do you have producer heroes, engineer heroes?
Oh, that's a good question.
I don't know if they're, is it the same as musician? It's like I say, I think you're a musician also, but you ask any musician that, like, do you emulate? Is there an ideal for you?
Well, in terms of emulating is a different thing, following what they do and using some of their tricks and techniques and the particular signature sounds that are associated with certain producers.
So like, who do you enjoy? We'll put it that way.
Yeah.
And then who do you emulate if they're two different things?
Well, it's interesting, like I would say that the best records overall. Now, I'm 57 and I was born in 63 and I started to become like music aware, radio aware, 67.
Okay.
And the early songs I would have been listening to would be AM Gold.
Sure.
All those one-hit wonders on AM, right? And I love all those songs. And of course, that's a whole bunch of different producers. But when I got a little bit older and started collecting certain rock records, and I really got into the Elton John records.
Sure. Gus Dudgeon.
Right. That's right. And Gus also produced the very first Bowie single, the only thing that he produced by Bowie.
Oh, interesting.
Which is Space Oddity.
Oh, that's right.
That was Gus.
Okay, that's cool. That's cool.
And then Bowie's producers, Tony Visconti, who I got to meet one time.
Oh, wow.
It was a real thrill.
Is he still alive?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, alive and kicking.
Good.
He just did a remix, or like an updated 2020 mix of The Man Who Sold the World, Bowie record.
Yep.
And it's just a fantastic listen.
Wow.
So he's someone I enjoy, and also Ken Scott, who produced some of Bowie's records, as well as others, and of course, George Martin.
Sure.
And it's funny, I'm drawing a blank, but if we were in front of my record collection, I could point out this, that, and the other thing.
So this is kind of a weird question. When did you become did you start as a music lover, a lover of music, listen to music?
Yeah.
When did you become aware that there was such a thing as an engineer, like that this was made by somebody with a sensibility, aware of production or aware of engineering? Was there a particular thing?
Yeah, oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
All the records Well, first of all, what's the difference between then and now?
Sure.
Records.
Yeah, that's true. Yep.
These physical, they were a foot wide.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, they were 12 by 12.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Imagine that.
Or you could open them up.
Mm-hmm.
You know, got a clean little weed in them if
Yeah.
you felt
Sure.
like it.
Sure. Yeah.
Right? Or maybe
and
it
I
was
felt
a
like it.
triple album.
Sure. Right.
Wings Over America. Right?
Goodbye Yellow Brick Road.
Right.
Triple open.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you're looking at all the credits. And you're looking at the musicians' credits. You're looking at the recording studio credits.
100%. Yep.
The producers, arrangers,
All that.
lyrics, all those things. And so, you know, like many kids of my era that were listening to records, we'd be looking at the records while listening to them, and almost through osmosis, all that would kind of sink in.
100%.
And that's how I got aware of that there was this kind of
A process.
and culture of people that created and did these things.
And you were like, I'd rather be that than the dude.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it was like, architecture. Do I want to go into architecture? What do I want to do? My folks certainly didn't want me to do what I ended up doing.
Oh, really?
Although my mother was a music teacher.
Really?
Yes. Yeah.
And she still was like, I want my son to be an architect.
I gotta be honest. She's a little jealous of me.
Really?
Yeah.
Still? Why?
Still. I don't know. Cause she's got her own thing going on in music. She puts on these, the community concerts for 50 years in Middlesex County.
Wow. You ever record her with the van?
I recorded her group once, but it's tough recording your mom. They're emotional issues.
Yeah, I would imagine. I would imagine so.
There. But yes, I have recorded her.
Wow. It's kind of wild. Yeah. That's wild. So she would have rather you been an architect and like stay out of her business.
Stay out of her whole
zone.
ballywick, so to speak.
Yeah.
Stay out of it.
Yeah. And you didn't listen.
No.
That's cool.
Yeah. But my dad really never had a musical bone in his body. But, my mom made sure, like, I took violin starting at age 4.
Oh, wow.
So I was violin from age 4 to 8. And
you grew up in Middletown, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Middletown native.
Far out.
In fact, I'm so native.
How native are you?
Like I live 5 football fields from the hospital where I was born.
Yeah. Well, hey, you know
I
what?
live that close to where I was
Yeah,
born.
sure. I just moved. We just moved. I lived in my hometown. I lived, a mile from my high school.
In Wallingford.
I grew up in Wallingford. We lived in Wallingford. We lived in Meriden was the last place I lived with my wife for 15 years. But it was like, right on the border. Like Wallingford was right over there.
Right.
So I understand. We just moved to Berlin 6 months ago. So I'm like out of the biodome.
Yeah,
Like-
you're in a whole new thing.
A whole new thing. Yeah.
This is your Berlin era.
That's right. Yeah. I'm starting my trilogy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. It's funny. It is Berlin. Yeah. But Berlin's cool because I lived in South Meriden, and in order to get, my mom lives, on Center Street in Wallingford. It takes me the same amount of time to get from Berlin, which is 2 towns away, than it did from Meriden.
Right.
Because all the light, this is like, I can actually get there. So I'm out of the zone, but I'm not far from the zone. So it's kind of cool. It's the best of both worlds.
It must be a breath of fresh air.
It is
all
cool.
That congestion.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's cool. Berlin's cool. Where we live is really cool. So
this whole modern thing, like the cars and the traffic jams and all this stuff is really getting to me.
Really?
You would think
Get used to it.
I'm around machines all day long.
Really? Did it bother you to come over the bridge to get here?
No, the bridge was all right.
Okay.
Yeah, no, it's pretty cool right now. It's been a little crazy.
Yeah. They're going to be working on that bridge for a while.
For a little while.
Yeah. They just did that, didn't they? They did something. No. Who knows?
They did do a little something a few years back, but now they're doing a big something.
Big something.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, for those of you who don't know, Portland is a town. Pretty much, if you're coming from anywhere, you have to come over the river. If you're coming from that entire half of the state, if you're already over here, you don't have to. But like Berlin, Meriden, and Wallingford, everybody, you have to go over this one bridge to get here, to get to Portland.
They even have that big sign.
Come on over.
Come on over.
Come on over.
And
I love Portland.
Yeah.
I've been coming here for years and years.
Yeah.
Far out. I know this is probably impossible, but I just figure I would ask because this is usually what I do.
Yeah.
One album, Desert Island, one album. Is it possible?
No.
Yeah.
But my favorite album, I do have like a favorite.
Sure. I'm ready.
First of all, top 5 type records.
Sure. You go as many as you want, just to get to know.
Goodbye Yellow Brick Road would be in there.
100%.
Never Mind the Bullocks.
Sure. Yeah.
Would be in there.
100%.
Maybe Ziggy Stardust would be in there.
Sure.
Let's see, what would be some of the other ones? Okay, so that's part of the top 5, but my number 1 record is a Chess record.
Ooh.
Howling Wolf.
Mm-hmm.
And the record is titled, it's just this white, plain looking white record with big black block lettering. It says, "This is Howling Wolf's new album." He doesn't like it. He didn't like his electric guitar at first either.
Really?
And they boldly put that on and he didn't like the record.
Wow. This must have been like the 60s.
The 60s, it was the son. The Chess brothers' son,
right?
Who
they're trying to make it
hippie,
hip,
trying to be hip,
yep,
right? And they were doing that.
It's a good record.
It's a great record.
Yeah,
yeah.
I love. I don't. It might be this roughly the same vintage, but do you know the Muddy Waters Folk Singer album? Do you know that? Yeah, that's a nice one too. Yeah. I like that one because it's just microphones, 3 people, maybe 2-3 people. That's it.
They know what they're doing.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Let them do their thing.
Mm-hmm. You can hear the echo chamber. You can hear the whole thing.
Yeah.
It's cool.
Years ago, you gave me a recording. You share a lot of things with a lot of people.
I do.
To do with collecting and understanding music. And
that's cool. I hope so.
It kind of speaks of the DJ side of you.
This is true.
But you gave me a copy of Temples of Sound.
Oh, that's right.
And it's funny. I was going through my iTunes collection last night. I was doing just a little bit of organizing, and I came across it. And I was thinking of you, and I was thinking of it and the premise of it, which is just showing 2 or 3 recordings from all of these iconic recording studios where famous records were made. So yeah,
that's funny. Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah. That's what I'm all about. Trying to discover.
And my little studio has a sound.
Yeah,
or it has certain things that are unique to it sonically.
How would you characterize those?
Well, it's a fairly dead space acoustically, with low ceilings, but not in a particularly negative impacting way on the recordings. It's a very good drum room, the main room, especially if you get the microphones on the other side of the room that you add to it, the room mics. And then certain reverbs and techniques that are habitual to me that I've done over and over, that is what I'm adding to the sound.
Sure.
Apart from the sonics of the room.
Did you design that room? How did you find that building?
I walked out of the back of La Boca.
Yep. Sure.
After having a beer.
Sure.
And some of those free salsa and chips that they had back in the day. You remember that?
Yes, I do. Yeah.
The original La Boca.
Yeah.
And so I walked out, and the building had been other things over the years. Like when I was a kid, the recording studio building I'm in now, that I've been in for these past 30 years, when I was a kid, it was a dry cleaners.
Okay.
And it was called Star Cleaners.
Okay.
I should have kept the name.
Yes, why not?
Star Cleaners.
Yeah.
For the studio.
Yeah, exactly. Why not?
That would have been.
Come dirty, leave clean.
That's right.
Stars. Yep.
We'll clean it up.
Yep. Wow.
And it had been an Italian social club.
Okay.
Where the story
Bocce
goes.
Court. Must have a bocce court. Uh-oh. Dave's nodding. There's a story.
The story goes that guy, and I hope I don't get into trouble here. Some guys that got kicked out of the Sons of Italy.
Okay.
Got together with guys who got kicked out of the Garibaldi Society.
Okay.
And they formed an Italian social club in the building that I'm in.
The Get Even
God
Society.
knows.
The Get Even Society. The Vendetta Society.
Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly. And they're like behind the plaster wall that's on there now, there's like an Italian fresco.
Oh, really?
On one of the walls and stuff.
So they probably had a bocce court off in the side.
Some stuff. They had some stuff going on there.
Wow. How long that last?
They
They fractured. I'm sure they had disagreements. It just gets smaller and smaller. You know, they get kicked out of that, and then
right, and
there's
then
just one guy
go?
left. There's
right,
just one.
right. There's the last man standing.
Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah, I really don't know much of the story about it, but there are a few people I know who know the story well. Like Randy Moses, he knows.
Really?
Yeah.
Nothing else inside those walls?
There was
Never know.
There was a call center. There are 50 phone lines coming into the building.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it's been everything.
It's been everything.
Wow. And it's been you for 30 years.
30 years.
Do you own the building?
No.
Landlord must be thrilled. I mean, at least you're not, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, not
every 5 years it being something else.
Right. I stuck by my side of it.
Yep.
And I'm a good tenant, especially I think because I go around the parking lot and I clean up all the trash.
Hey, someone's got to do it.
If someone throws a bottle down, even today, must have been a pizza party and there were 10 pizza boxes that somebody threw out on the ground.
Yeah. Not cool.
Not cool.
No.
And it's not beneath me to go over.
I'm kind of the same.
Those 10
I would do
boxes.
it too. I'd just be like, let me just do this.
But a lot of people wouldn't.
Yeah, but whatever. This is another conversation, but I don't think people realize if they didn't, you'd have seagulls in 3 days. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There'd be garbage and all of a sudden it would be a mess.
It would be a mess.
Yeah. So
and imagine if everybody picked up all the garbage.
Now you're dreaming. Dare
to dream.
That's right. That's right. All right. Hey, this is pretty cool. What else you want to talk about? We could end at any time.
Let's see. I don't know. You know, there's music and musicians in the scene. People have come through. Maybe I wouldn't know where to start.
Yeah, right. We might
thousands.
Why I also say this to people too because I like to. We're coming up on 50 minutes. I like to keep. I don't know. I don't listen to a lot of podcasts. Might be the other thing.
Right.
That I'm not sure. I don't want to go too long.
Yeah. Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I always tell people, let's do this again. You know what I mean?
Let's do it down the road.
Now that right, and we'll think more about a more of a narrative stories that you want to tell about, because by the time we get into the getting to know you, then we don't get into the good stories.
Well, one thing I will say is that I love when recordings get radio play, and when they end up in a commercial or a movie. Or a TV thing, on film somehow. And that continues to happen pretty regularly.
Cool.
And so and that's one thing about our scene here in Connecticut that I think is really healthy. People like Bob D. April and all the others.
Yeah, right. And there's so many. Yeah, well,
Rob DeRosa.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you're definitely part of the fabric.
Yes.
Whether you believe or don't want anyone to know it or not. Yeah. Obviously, the proof is you have more work than you can handle.
Yeah, I'm in there working every day. And I was working some magic today.
Fantastic.
Weaving together 3-part guitar, noodling harmonies, and just weaving them together measure by measure, trying to make it sound really interesting.
And
it turned out pretty good.
Oh, good. I'm not surprised. Yeah. Got to have the patience to do it.
That's the whole thing, is that, some people, they talk about this modern recording and it's very frustrating to them, and it's very confusing, especially people who are recording hobbyists at home with their home studios.
How would you characterize modern, just for the record?
Recording to a computer.
Okay.
Where you're recording to a DAW, digital audio workstation.
So much more post-production oriented. Would you characterize it that way?
Well, the idea, like back when I had my 12-track, when I was working on that record with Mike Cleary, we would have to punch in a guitar solo. And if we had filled up all the tracks, if we didn't like the solo, we had to erase over it and punch in another solo. You couldn't do, say, 5, 10, 20 solos,
And then just comp everything like you can now.
Everything. And even comping is something that really, first of all, I don't enjoy doing it, but I'm very good at it because it's so tedious and time consuming. But if you stick with it and you do it really well, it can net something really wonderful.
Sure. Did you ever do a lot of editing? Analog tape editing with razor blade? Are you good with that? Really?
Yeah, I can do that with the grease pencil.
Wow.
And the smell of the tape.
Yeah, I didn't. I'll have to take your word for it. I just know that was a thing.
You got to watch out for the razor blades. It'll cut a finger off.
Right? You must have cut yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It can happen.
No. Oh, you don't have those problems now.
No,
I guess.
No, it's very different.
You get trackball finger now or something.
You do. It really does get to you that, after 7-8 hours.
I can't even imagine. I can't imagine. My thing is, if I work on the computer, is my neck, because it's this.
Yes, right.
You realize, like, oh, okay, that's where that problem comes from.
Right, all those things. The sedentary thing of it is definitely a problem. There are people who I've read on the different producer forums that talk about their studios. They build it so that they're doing their mixing standing up.
Right. That's not a bad idea.
Not a bad idea.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So I would imagine, okay, so here's a question. Is it because we're slightly more health conscious now that we would even think like that? Or do you think that the recording process is by nature more sedentary now?
More sedentary now, because I think that it's more complicated for all the solutions of all the software and the systems, where the idea is that through technology, we're making everything more streamlined, powerful, productive, and simple.
Right.
In many ways, the opposite is true.
Sure.
Recordings in general are getting more detail oriented because everybody's getting more detail oriented.
I see.
So there's more attention now that has to be paid to the rough ends of recordings, and that comping, and how people record. Maybe if they do a loop of 2, 3, 4 vocal takes, and then they just take a look at it.
So it's a trade-off.
It's definitely. I've never worked so hard to produce recordings on the engineering side as I am doing now with my most modern system. I have to work harder.
Are you happy, unhappy? It's just different?
I'm unhappy with certain aspects of it. Like, I don't have a digital mixer, which would allow me to put the mics in, turns to digital, and you EQ to compress it, to shape it, and then it goes to tape or it goes to the recorder, and then it comes out of the recorder back into that same mixer. So what you've recorded and how it sounds to the person you're recording, the Q mix with the reverbs and the levels. When I used to have a digital mixer, I could immediately play back the track and it would sound exactly the same panning, levels, reverbs. So it goes in, it's sounding a certain way, it comes out sounding that same way. On my new system, I have to create a whole new mix of what's coming off of tape, so to speak. And so it just used to be that playback was ready. Now there's no playback until you create one. And it's not going to sound exactly the same.
Is that going to change?
Not unless I go back to getting a digital mixer instead of, I basically have these very high-end sound cards.
Okay.
That convert the sound to digital and then it goes into the computer. So it changed the way that I worked. And then all of those were different than when I had the ADATs.
Right.
You know, and on
And you just stayed on it.
Yeah.
How quickly did things change?
Well,
when did it become more of like a post world, you know?
Part of it was my own budget.
Okay.
You know, that determined when I changed with the times. But things change very quickly. And I do feel in the past 15 years, I've very much stayed on top of the state of the art. Like I understand what the state of the art is. I study up on it and where things are going. And I embrace certain software that maybe some of the other studios around here are just not bothering with, whereas I'm getting deep into them.
Okay. Yeah. Do you feel that things are going to change again?
There
or have
will
we
always
maxed out?
Be little changes, I think.
Okay.
But that's a good question. That's a hard question to answer. I think that, like right now I'm looking at this device you have called a cloud lifter, which is basically amplifies very cleanly a microphone signal. So if you have a mic like this mic here, which is known for having a low output, the cloud lifter revs up that level of voltage before it ever hits anything else that it's supposed to. And we didn't see cloud lifters 5 years ago.
I see.
Nobody was talking about them. Now it's a pretty you have one of these. Oh, you got to have a cloud lifter.
Right.
We weren't talking about that when I bought 3 of these 30 years ago.
Right. Right. Yeah.
So
it becomes a standard.
Change. Yeah.
Because people get used to hearing it. You say you're hearing this mic kind of blasted through that and kind of squeezed up a little bit.
Yeah. I love these mics.
SM7s.
Yeah.
Far out. All right. You know what? I think we might, you want to be good for now?
Let's pull the plug.
All right. All right. Let's do this again. Don't forget, the food question. All right. I figured out a new way because this is what I find interesting. Because I always wonder, you know, the real questions. I used to ask the question of if you only could eat one thing every day for the rest of your life, what would it be? I mean, I get all kinds of ancillary questions.
Yeah.
Let me rephrase it like this. There's a moment when you're eating and you go, you know what? I'd be fine with having this every day. If I had to, I could eat this every day. What is that moment for you? What is that food?
Well, it used to be pizza.
Sure.
I could eat pizza, breakfast, lunch, dinner.
Why not?
Whatever.
Yep.
Just eat the heck out of the pizza. Love the pizza.
But now?
Juicing.
Really?
Yes. For the past 10 years, John, every morning, maybe 10 times a year, I fall off the wagon. Maybe. But every morning for breakfast, I juice fruits and vegetables with my Jack LaLanne juicer.
Yes.
You remember Jack LaLanne?
Yeah, Jack
Muscle
LaLanne.
Man.
Yeah. So juicing, then you fire up the projector. Check it out.
When I first got into it, I would play the Jack LaLanne videos while juicing just to get into the.
Why not?
Someone bought me a 12-inch Jack LaLanne record.
Wow, really? No, now you're kidding.
No, they did.
Really? Jack LaLanne made records?
He had a whole empire.
Wow.
Going, and the ladies loved him, right?
I only really know the name. I guess I got to research a little bit more.
He's funny, actually, to look at his, and it's black and white.
Is he still alive?
Oh, no.
No, yeah.
He lived till 94.
Well, there you go.
Pretty good.
Yep.
But yeah, for me, believe it or not, it's juicing. I never get tired of it.
Great. When you mix it up, no pun intended. Different things, the same thing?
Always a couple of apples and a lemon.
Okay.
Okay. We're keeping it alkaline.
Sure.
Cancer can't survive in an alkaline environment.
Gotcha.
Right. And these enzymes, these natural living enzymes that are in this food.
Sure.
And you're not having to digest anything and add your stomach acid because you blended it into this liquid.
I see.
You're mainlining this nutrition.
Mm-hmm.
And,
With the maximum benefit.
I'll throw some grapes in there.
Why not?
I'm feeling a little risque. Maybe some, celery.
Okay. I hate celery.
You do?
Yeah.
Yeah. Some people
I'm never
don't
putting
like
celery in mine.
Broccoli. I'll put in.
Maybe.
Yeah, people don't like the broccoli. That has all the green, the chlorophyll.
Okay.
And the celery, that has the electrolytes, like the 5-hour energy drinks.
Far out. I might try that. I make my own smoothies once in a while, but I don't know if I'm not at Jack LaLanne level.
If you ever wanted,
point me in the direction.
You a juice.
Sure.
And I could show you my record collection.
All right. You know what?
Let's
do that.
Okay.
Do we have the capability? Can you bring your rig here? Do we have that capability? Can we juice here on this gig?
Oh my God. Absolutely.
All right. We're going next level next time. Okay.
I would be honored.
Okay. All right.
To juice with the folks here.
Let the record show. Okay. Because we got cameras. Okay. Here's what we're going to do. This is going to be a new thing. Now we're starting a new thing. Next time we get together. Yes. Bring records. I'll bring records. Bring juicing.
Oh, we're bringing records too.
Why not?
A record and juice party.
Why not? Let's get into it.
Oh my God.
That'd be awesome.
Oh, that's great.
Wait, let me just start over. Go home. Just come back right now. Yeah, that would be cool. You know what? Let's do that.
Great.
A live reaction to juicing. You make me a juice and I will try it.
It sounds
Don't
good.
even tell me what's in it. Don't even do we have blindfolds available?
No.
Don't even tell me what's in it.
I will
put celery. I probably won't even know.
Juice. A good, delicious juice.
I can't wait. That would be awesome. Now we'll talk about records.
Thank you so much, John.
Yeah, man. Thank you. This is awesome. Coffeehouse. Say it again.
The Coffeehouse Recording Studio.
Okay, the Coffeehouse Recording Studios, Middletown, Connecticut.
Yes.
Behind the old La Boca.
That's right.
You still have on the tunnel, the painting?
Yeah, I do.
Love it.
Yeah, Tim Sparks helped me
great
paint that on the wall there.
That's so cool. That's a Middletown thing.
Yeah.
It is. Yeah. The building. Cool. All right. We got to do this again. We're doing
Thank you very much,
this again.
John.
Thank you. Michael Arafeh was here. He was here. He still is, but he also was, and he will be. This is the Jon Peckman Podcast, coming to you, Connecticut Valley School of Music and Dance, beautiful downtown Portland, Connecticut. Come over the bridge, start looking left. Right? Correct? All right. I'm Jon Peckman. Thank you for listening, and we will see you next time. Michael Arafeh was here. He was here. We'll get Michael Cleary up here again. Maybe we'll do a
celebrity death note.
Maybe we'll. Okay. Hey, thanks for listening, folks. We'll see you next time. We're already making plans. See ya.